We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast, as we always are, and we are going to also do this as a live on Substack. This is kind of a different circumstances. I've played some lives from Substack on the podcast, but we're going to do it now, and I'm still getting a weird noise every so often when I talk. I don't know if it's from this microphone or what it is. I'll try to avoid it by maybe standing back a little bit. But on this live, we've got so much to talk about with so much crazy shit going on. And when I think about crazy shit, I think about bringing in TJ the Plumber, who's normally a moderator on TikTok and a moderator on what else? YouTube. We haven't needed moderators so much on Substack as yet, so hopefully we'll be cool there.
Well, yeah,
Um,
it's appropriate to bring me in because I'm a crazy motherfucker. So
That's what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at. If I want to get people fired up, I bring in Will. If I want to get people sensitive, I bring in Old Soul. If I want to learn something, I bring in Eric. And I'm just kind of the ringmaster here. I'm just talking about shit. And we've got a lot of we've got some interesting things. I think people are getting a little frightened now, and I think even Republicans are getting frightened now. Donald Trump always loved to talk about the stock market, how well he was doing. He once said that before Joe Biden took office, if he um, entered the presidency, if he beat Donald Trump in 2020, which he did, the market would immediately crash. Well, that's not what happened. The market continued to improve the full 4 years that Joe Biden was in, and now the market is starting to crash now that Donald Trump is in office and he's trying to blame Joe Biden. Fuck Joe Biden. He's a private citizen now. Donnie, you're in charge.
right, of course. And Will wore me out tonight. I was on Will's live earlier.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, on TikTok. And but I did tell Will in the midst of that live that back in October of 2024, my Trumplefuck cousin put on Facebook, um, because the market was doing great, right? The market was in October, November, December. I mean, it
Yeah.
was exploding. We had record level highs in the market, right?
Right.
And my cousin put a post on Facebook that said, "Oh, my my 401k is fat every because the market knows that Trump is going to become president and he's going to make America great again, right?"
Right.
And so now here we are in March of 2025. Donald Trump became president, and the fucking market, what have we lost in like the last week? 1,700 points in the Dow Jones, at least.
Almost 2,000. It
At least
lost 890
close.
today.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So I was close. So because I watched the market, and so how's that 401k working out for you, motherfucker? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scroll back. It's gonna take me a while, but I'm gonna scroll back to that post, and I'm gonna comment on it. I'm gonna say, how's that 401k doing for you today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, see, that's the weird thing. He said it would crash when Joe Biden became president. It didn't do it. The economy or the stock market was going great leading up to the election, and Donald Trump said he takes credit for it because everybody's so excited about him becoming president and him winning. So he was taking ownership of that stock market. Now he gets to be president. It takes a big shit. And now he's saying it's Biden's fault. Oh, wait a minute. I thought you said it was going so well because of you. So
No,
how did Biden screw this up?
I don't get it because he said everything was going to be greater on day one. How's that
Yeah.
work? Is it better on day one? Well, now we're on day 60 something, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Is it better? Fuck no, it's not better. And all these
No.
dumb motherfuckers deserve what they get.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of other people are getting it too, and I guess it's going to have to be that we struggle through and hope these Republicans die off in the process. You know, kind of like chemotherapy. Chemotherapy basically tries to kill everything and hopefully kills the cancer first. So let's hope these troubled times will kill our cancer, that being Trump first, and leaves us some time to recover because that's what it's going to be. Once this is all over, and it will be over at some point, we're going to have to spend a lot of time digging out of a hole and recovering. It's unfortunate, but that's just the fucking way it is.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you on that. And if the trajectory that we're on right now, and I hate to say this, but like I don't think this can be recovered by one presidency. To be honest with you, the damage
Well,
is going to be so bad that one president, one 4 year term, maybe not even an 8 year term, will be able to fix the damage that Donald Trump is doing to this country.
Well, I will tell you this though. I will tell you this though. Yeah, you may be right about that. But remember in 2008 how bad that was. Obama was able to bring it back. It may have taken 8 years to do it fully, but he did a pretty good job. And Joe Biden's coming out of COVID. Not much could be worse than that. So, as bad as this is, I'm confident there is somebody, if the Democrats can actually come up with somebody solid enough to be the president in 2028 or sometime before, if he gets fucking impeached and they impeached, I could just see it now. They would impeach Donald Trump once they realize how big a liability he is to the Republican Party. JD Vance gets in, but he's not any better. They'll probably impeach that motherfucker too. I'm ready for a Republican if they're normal, but I don't know that there are any out there.
No, there isn't any. In the position I'm in right now, I think JB Pritzker is probably the best candidate to run in 2028.
I tend to agree with you. A lot of people hadn't thought about him recently, but he's got a lot going for him. He's from the Midwest. He's legitimately a billionaire. He is legitimately successful. And it's weird that we would get a guy that seems to be above reproach and not corrupt and coming from the Chicago area. Because Chicago and Illinois politics have been known to being a little sketchy, but I agree with you. JB Pritzker is an interesting possibility, and if anybody can do it, he can. I also like the fact that he's not your typical politician. There's wimpy Democrats that just step back and go, "Oh, I'm going to be a nice guy." Pritzker will get in your fucking face. He'll mess with you. That's my kind of guy.
Well, he does what we want him to do, and he's not reserved. He's not going to follow all the rules. He's going to if somebody talks some shit to him like Trump or any motherfucker says some shit to him, he's going to get right in their face and and put it back on them. So that's why I think he's an adequate candidate. He will fight back. He's not the typical billionaire. Like if you saw JD Pritzker on the street and you came up to him and said, "Hey, like, can I buy you a beer?" He'd go in and do that with you.
Yeah,
Not like
yeah,
fucking Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or all these other motherfuckers that are like above board and you know the Trump fucks are so stupid. Like if you went to Mar-a-Lago as a Trump fuck, even if you're his supporter, they're not letting you in there. You're fucking stupid.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and don't you think that's what we need to do in this country? I mean, Democrats have proven that they're kind of out of touch with the people who want to vote for somebody who's for the people. Democrats haven't proven that they're that, and they need to change things up to put a standard Republican up for the presidency may not be successful even in 2028, regardless of what Donald Trump does. We do need a change in the guard a little bit. And there are only a few people out there that could fit that mold. I mean, even Gavin Newsom, he's a great candidate, but he's kind of establishment Democrat too, and people clearly have been tired of that. So somebody like J.B. Pritzker or somebody like she'd be too young. Well, she's not too young, too inexperienced, but Jasmine Crockett, that's the kind of energy we need leading this country because we're in a fight now. We're in a fucking war, and we need a warrior, not some pussy ass bitch that's going to say, let's take the high road. That hasn't worked. We can't afford to have that happen again.
I'd take Jasmine Crockett over Gavin Newsom any day of the week, just because Gavin Newsom's he's going to be viewed too much as establishment politics, and J.B. Pritzker, Jasmine Crockett, and a few other Democrats in the mix um, are more fighters than they are, taking the high road. Even
Yeah,
my governor in the state of Pennsylvania, I love I love Josh. He's a dear friend of mine, but he always takes the high road and he doesn't fight back. He does fight back, but like he doesn't fight back with words because words matter, right?
right. Absolutely, clearly.
Yeah, words matter. And I love Josh. He does a lot of great things for the Pennsylvanians, and he does a lot of great things for labor. He does all these great things, but words matter. And Josh, he's on that line where we take the high road and we're not gonna shake the boat or rock the boat. Like that's not the way. We can't follow that mentality anymore. We have to take the mentality that we have to hit them as hard as they hit us, low as they hit us, and that's what we need to
Yeah,
do. I, that's why I like J.D. Pritzker because he trolled Trump. He said, "Fuck you! I'm not gonna do what you want me to do. You can get fucked." And that's
yeah, absolutely.
what we need someone to do that's a viable presidential candidate.
Absolutely. And those of you joining us on this Substack Live, just note this is also going to be a Rational Boomer podcast. They come out every day. You're more than welcome to check them out on YouTube and on Spotify. But we got some questions. And if you're out there and you have questions or comments, we encourage you to throw them out there. Jerry says Governor P, I'm assuming she's talking about Pritzker, went on Stephanie Miller's Sexy Liberal Tour show in August 2024. He is a badass Dem, and I would agree. Jose Ortiz says Newsom fights back. And I agree. I like Newsom. He is a fighter. He will talk back. But I almost feel like with where we are now, he seems a little too establishment. I mean, I'd be cool if Gavin Newsom could get elected as president. I'd be fine with it. But the fact of the matter is when we come to 2028 or even in 2026, we cannot afford to lose. We have to have the right person at the right time who's willing to fight. And if that is JB Pritzker, cool. If that is Jasmine Crockett, I'm cool with it. Even if it's Gavin Newsom, I'm fine with it. I have nothing negative to say about Gavin Newsom, but I'm worried about winning first. MK says we need brilliance as well. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, somebody like Jasmine Crockett, she intrigues me because she is brilliant. She's a lawyer. She is very smart. She's very articulate, but she'll also drag you out in the street and put her foot up your ass too. I like that energy.
Yeah, she's an amazing. I That's the kind of Democrats that need to start getting elected into our side. I mean, she takes them head on when they're being stupid dumb like Marjorie Taylor Greene with that. She said, um, bleach blonde, bad butch body. That I when I heard that, I almost fell out of my chair. I was laughing so
Yeah,
because Marjorie Taylor Greene thought she was going to own Jasmine Crockett, right? And
yeah,
she went back at her and just annihilated her. She looked like a turd in the bottom of a dumpster. I mean, it was. I love Jasmine Crockett. She's so amazingly intelligent, articulate. Like she has so much um, prospect. Like uh, there's no limits to what she can do.
yeah. Somebody asked if Pritzker went on Fox News. I haven't seen that, and I would be willing to bet Fox News won't invite him because he could be a problem. They get burned all the time anyway from people they think they can handle.
Yeah,
I don't know that he has. I'll check into that. Now, here's something that I get all the time. It's from somebody called Incandescent Light. How confident are you that the elections will be fair, considering the oligarchs and his minions are in all the systems and fire the people who are in charge of that? Um, I'm going to tell you this. Is there funny business going on with elections? Clearly there is. Clearly there is. But in order to cheat on an election, it needs to be close. It's got to be like 2 or 3%. After Donald Trump gets done doing what he's doing, it's not going to be close. There'll be going to be too many people suffering, and they are going to get buried in elections. Over and above that, I think there are some things that are going to occur before the 2026 election that are incredibly damaging to the Republican Party. They may be trying to game this whole thing, but the way it's going, they're going to get taken down one way or another. And I'm not as worried about the elections as these people being held responsible for the shit they're doing now. We can't wait till the election to get this fixed. So I'm hoping some bigger things happen between now and the 26th or 2026 to actually affect the elections coming up.
Well, I a, a couple hours ago I ran into a video where it was Fox News or some some other outlet. I think it was Fox News, but Donald Trump admitted on the interview that he rigged the election so he could get back into office. Did you see that video?
Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen him pretty much tell on himself every time he talks. It's just fucking crazy, and the Republicans just ignore it like it didn't happen. Um, MK says, "Aren't you all encouraged that the EU is challenging Starlink and replacing him?" I absolutely am, and it's interesting about that. You know, the Doug Ford in Canada basically canceled $100 million contract with Starlink. EU is shutting down Starlink and not accepting it. It was interesting. There was a little back and forth on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck it was. Somebody talking about Ukraine and Starlink and was speaking negatively about Starlink and Elon Musk. It might have been a politician or just somebody who's a media person there. And Elon Musk responded by saying, "You better be quiet, little man, because Starlink is the backbone of the Ukrainian army or military. And if I shut it off, you'd be buried on the front lines." That's not a good comment to make. See, the problem is anybody who gets Starlink now has to consider, well, this motherfucker could just shut it off any time. Is that worth the risk? Is that worth the risk to our country's security?
And so what he's saying is, I'm going to I'm going to shut off to you to allow your countrymen to be slaughtered if you
Yeah,
follow my whim. Is that what he's saying?
that's exactly what he's saying. That's what he's saying. You know, he's trying to show his power. It's like the typical bullying thing that Donald Trump is doing. I mean, Donald Trump and the Trump administration go grab this protester and deport him for no reason, just because they were speaking out against Donald Trump,
Well,
in addition to canceling a $400 million contract for Columbia College. This is fucking appalling what's going on.
let's make no mistake about it. Vladimir Putin and Russia have committed atrocities and war crimes in Ukraine,
No
and
question.
they continue to commit war crimes in Ukraine. You know, missile strikes on civilians, killing women and children, raping women, all this shit that they're doing, they continue to do it. And Elon Musk is complicit in doing that, shutting off the Starlink to them.
Right. Absolutely. I personally think Elon Musk has got some problems. First of all, Tesla is dropping like a rock. That I don't know how long that can last with a loss of 70% sales and stock market drop of 40%. You got Twitter and X that's taking a shit. Then you've got SpaceX. Last two rockets he sent up fucking blew up over the ocean. Elon's not doing too well, and he's certainly not making any money unless he's grifting it off the uh, government rolls. But when this is all over and Donald Trump is no longer in power, all Elon is a rich guy who happens to be an immigrant, maybe not even a legal immigrant, who has no immunity. This motherfucker could end up in jail for some of the shit he's done once reasonable people get in charge.
Right. Well, absolutely. Like the DOJ is not going to do anything against him now, but like we've talked about on some TikTok lives and some other places, um, this whole Doge thing is not legitimate. They have no legitimacy to enter the U.S. Treasury and access the information, enter the IRS and access the information of um, Americans' personal information. They have no authority to do that. I don't know why people think they do, or why all these dumb fucks think that Doge is some kind of authority that they're not. They're not.
No,
Those kids are a bunch of zit faced punk ass kids that in the end, when Donald Trump fails and Elon Musk goes down, those kids are going to go to prison. And I'm
they
sorry to,
are.
but they broke the law, and they're going to be prosecuted for breaking the law, and they're going to be crying. All the tears are going to be flowing when they're in court. I didn't know. I was just doing what I was told. Too fucking bad. You broke the fucking law, and now you got to go to prison. And I don't.
Yeah, yeah. It's that's inevitable. I don't know what will happen with Donald Trump. He may keel over after choking on a Big Mac. Who cares? Incandescent Light says EU, Canada, they're kicking ass on this. Unfortunately, we get our asses kicked for a while. We can take it though, at least for a little while. And that's really what it is. When somebody like Canada or the EU comes after America, normally we'd be upset about this. But we understand what's going on and we're almost rooting for them to kick our ass for a while. I mean, reasonable people like you and I don't need this to get done to understand, but apparently it's gotten to the level for some stupid people in this country until they get a foot up their ass, they aren't going to recognize the problem. And so I'm hoping they get their asses kicked quick as hell. That's why if we're going to crash the economy, let's do it tomorrow. The
Well,
faster we do something, the faster we can start repairing it.
well, let me tell you how. Let me make an example about the level of stupidity. Okay, so I today I'm scrolling through a Meta platform, and I see a post from my cousin, and it says, "You
Your
don't,
cousin, the Trumplebuck.
yeah, you don't have to worry about tariffs if you buy American." And I saw that, and I'm like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me!" Like, and I wanted to comment on it, but I didn't. I just bit my tongue on it. But I wanted to say, "Hey, why don't you go buy a TV that's made in America? Go ahead. I challenge you to do that." That's what they don't understand about the whole fucking thing. Is that, yeah, there's some small amount of products that are made in this country, but a lot of the major products that we depend on, washers, dryers, all these things, appliances, refrigerators, they're not fucking made in America. So that's bullshit.
No,
It, that's bullshit. Like, the tariffs are gonna fuck you over. They're gonna fuck you, and you don't have a fundamental understanding of how they even work because they listen to Donald Trump. Oh yeah, the tariffs are gonna bring jobs. They're gonna make manufacturing bolster in this country. But guess what, motherfuckers? I got news for you. That tariffs only work if you have a base of manufacturing for a product in the country already. Because
yeah,
building a refrigerator factory takes a year or two.
at
So
least.
yeah, at least that long, maybe longer. So let's be generous and say 2 years. So you put the tariff on, all Americans get fucked for 2 years on the products that they're buying because they're paying 25% more until we build a factory, one factory, maybe two, that can produce this product, which is not enough to supply America, by the way. So then we start getting in the market and maybe we can compete at some level, but you're still getting fucked by the tariff because we can't produce enough of that product to actually make it worthwhile. It's a fucking joke.
It is a joke, and once the idea that we'll do it all here is going to take years to get up to speed to be able to do it. And then when we are able to do it, the products are going to be more than what we've been paying for. So you can't be made happy. Jesse Ortiz says big balls and the rest of the Doge incels will be pardoned on federal charges. We need state AGs to step up. I understand what you're saying, and theoretically, that's true. If they But see, the thing is, while Donald Trump's in control, they aren't going to be indicted. They're not going to be prosecuted. What I'm talking about is when Donald Trump is out of the way and things have fallen apart and people are trying to clean things up. Donald Trump will be out of the picture when these people are indicted, Elon Musk included. It's going to be after that. So don't worry about them being pardoned. I don't think once who's ever in control after this is going to pardon these people when it comes out exactly what they did.
Let me comment on that real quick. Is that when Donald Trump is gone, he's not going to preemptively pardon the kids. He don't give a fuck about them. He don't give a
No,
fuck.
there's no money in it.
He doesn't give a fuck about anybody but himself. So Donald Trump's not going to be able to. He's not going to do that. He's not going to pardon them preemptively because there's nothing to benefit him. So
No.
these guys, I don't. It's sad. I don't feel bad for them, but they're going to go to prison for a very long time for what they've done.
And they should. And they should. You know, that when you talk about Donald Trump's transactional nature, uh, and how he doesn't care. I think that's what people have to understand. He's gotten everything he needed, so there is no reason to bow to anybody. We talked about the U.S. aid thing, where he cut off sending money out to foreign countries for starving or sick people. He cut it off. And after he cut it off, they suddenly realized that by cutting it off, they were burning the farmers in this country because a lot of that money was coming back to farmers, and now their crops or their harvest is sitting in boats rotting away. These farmers lost tons and tons of money. And they just recently did something more with USAID to shut it down further. So they don't care about the farmers. And I know the farmers are thinking to themselves, well, he bailed us out last time. He'll bail us out this time. No,
Nope.
he won't, because there's nothing in it for him. When he bailed you farmers out last time, he needed your vote. He doesn't need your vote anymore. He's going to say, fuck you. I'm going to pocket as much money as I can get. So if you farmers who voted for Donald Trump think you're going to get bailed out, don't be surprised if you don't, because I don't see why he would do that.
It's going to harm all domestic farming. It's going to harm our friend JD. You know, and
Yeah, JD the farmer, he's a Gen Z guy who works in farming, and it's going to affect him, and it's unfortunate.
yeah, and these dumb fucks, these Trump fucks, don't realize that the USAID program that feeds foreign countries, it's written in there that product should be produced by American farmers, and the American
Right,
farmers now are getting fucked. And like Mike said, it's all rotting in shipping containers. It's sitting there at its destination in some cases, sitting in a container, and it can't be delivered because dumb fuck Donald Trump and Elon Musk and his fucking merry band of fucking idiots decided that they're going to shut that all off.
right.
But but I wonder a little bit that after the budget, um, they're talking about the continuing resolution of the budget. After it passes, does it refund all these things so they're back in place? That's a big mystery question.
It's
What
a mystery question, and more importantly, even if they do refund it, how long does it take, and how long can these people survive without this money? I'm guessing not very long.
do you know? But uh, like that's the big question mark right now is that if continuing resolution and they pass the budget, is it going to bring back those programs or are they still DOA because Elon Musk and his, you know, brigands decide that it's not going to be thing.
Well, that's the thing, it's one thing to cut plans and cut programs, but even by disrupting it can do a lot of damage to a lot of people. MK is saying Smoot Hawley all over again. For those people who don't know what Smoot Hawley is, it was a tariff program. Was it put by Herbert Hoover or something? But that Smoot Hawley tariff strategy is what caused the Great Depression, not a recession, the Great Depression that went on for about 7, 8, 10 years, something like that. It was devastating to this country, and hopefully we are headed in that same direction. But It's along the same lines of what Herbert Hoover did back in the day prior to the Depression.
Yeah. Well, we're on track for that same thing because the projection on the GDP for the first quarter is negative 1.6%. We had, Mike, we had economic growth 48 months in a row until now.
Right.
48 months in a row of economic growth, and the Trump will fuck say Joe Biden ruined the economy. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's funny when we talk about this U.S. aid thing. Republicans are always talking about make America first, make America great again. We don't want to send money to other countries like Ukraine or like the starving people in Africa or wherever we're sending money to. They don't like that. They don't like the welfare aspect of it. Well, I can tell you this. I guess I can say this more than you. You're in kind of a mixed state, but I'm in a solid blue state in Minnesota. And here's based on that concept and that mindset, as somebody who's in a blue state who pays his taxes, who pays a lot of taxes, I'm tired of sending my money to red states. Let's make blue states great again. Let's have blue states first. They're the ones that make the world go round in this country. Those fucking red states are on welfare constantly and they're begging for money and we give it to them so they can survive. What if we just take the same attitude the Trump fucks take and say, we're going to keep our own, you guys can fucking starve?
Right?
Don't be surprised if somebody comes up with that idea and actually puts it into action. We'll see how long that helps the red
Yeah. You
states.
got to remember that the Trump fucks have no idea about it, right? So
No, they don't.
they don't realize that Minnesota, Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, California, they all contribute more to federal tax dollars than they take back. And
Right,
it's like, in some cases, it's like $1.27 less than what they contribute
right,
federal tax dollars. And then states like Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, um, Virginia, they're taker states. So,
right.
like, even my state's kind of a taker state, not by much, but like, it's almost 50-50 in my state. But like, these
And
red,
you're in Pennsylvania. You're in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania is kind of like, it's kind of close. Like, we take a little more than what we put in, but it's real close. So,
Right,
we're a swing state. So, all these red states, they pay in less than they take. And the Trump fucks have no idea that that's true. Like, they're like, I hate welfare. Fuck these people on welfare. Motherfucker, your whole state is welfare.
yeah,
And your education is shit because you don't spend your money right. Like, they're like, oh, we got to destroy the Department of Education and destroy this woke agenda. Unbeknownst to these dumb fucks, that the curriculum is set by every state. All the Department
right,
of Education does is take the money and fund the school districts. That's all. They give it to the state and say, hey, Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, here's our money that we're giving you for education from the Department of Education. Fund your district. And our Department of Education in the state funds them. Like, these
right.
fucking idiots think that the Department of Education is teaching critical race theory and all these like, no, it's the federal government has nothing to do with that. It's just about funding. We take the tax dollars in, they the Congress makes a bill and decides we get X amount of dollars to fund education, and then they divide it out among the states. That's it. That's all the Department of Education really does in the great.
Well, there's one thing the Department of Education does that's maybe some people don't understand. They're the funding, the complete funding for uh, special education.
Yeah, it's Title
So
IX.
if you Title IX, and if you shut down the Department of Education, there will be no more money for Title IX. There will be no more money for kids that need special help. And more importantly, there will be no more money for those teachers that teach in special education. So a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. A lot of kids aren't going to get the help that they need. And these kids aren't all Democrats. There's a lot of Republican kids that need or come from Republican families that need this help. Now, Donald Trump apparently knows this, just doesn't give a shit. So I'm going to be interested to see what some of these states, these red states, do when their kids stop getting the help and their teachers get fired, because that's exactly what would happen if they did away with the Department of Education. Now, people will say, well, they can't get rid of it because of of it has to be voted out by Congress. It was brought in by Congress. It has to be ended by Congress. And that's true. But if you can get in there and be disruptive enough, you may not be able to technically get rid of it, but you could cripple it in such a way where it's not working anymore. And I think that's the concern we have with people like Elon Musk and these little techno twinks running in there doing whatever the fuck they want.
I agree with you, but I got to correct you on one thing.
Sure.
Donald Trump does not know that the Department of Education funds Title One to help disabled kids. He doesn't know that. Uh,
Wouldn't you think somebody would have told him that, though? I mean, there's somebody around him got to know that.
yeah, but they're not telling him that. Like because he's too stupid to understand that.
Yeah.
He just is. I mean, there's no way that he probably thinks that they're teaching disabled kids, DEI things or what.
Yeah.
He's too dumb to understand that. This you're like think about it like this: how many disabled students does Donald Trump interact with, or has he interacted with in his life?
Better question is how many has he made fun of in his life?
Well,
Probably a lot more than he knows.
one reporter that we know of, but
Yeah.
children, like how many disabled? Like think about this. Remember when he had the parade and he didn't, or was it a parade? No, wasn't want disabled veterans that
Yeah.
had, you know, war injuries um, at his event. Remember?
Yeah.
So why would Donald Trump, if he didn't want disabled veterans at his event, why would Donald Trump give a fuck about disabled children? I'm
Yeah.
kind of in the same vein, right? Other than they,
Well,
in the military,
he will do things to make himself look good, like in that State of the Union
right?
presentation. He brought up that kid who had cancer, brain cancer, and was talking very compassionately about it and how we should be upset about it. And then, of course, the Democrats didn't clap, and the Republicans were trying to shame
Right?
them for that. And the thing is, these Democrats weren't not clapping for this kid with cancer. They were not clapping for the fact that Donald Trump was basically using this kid as a pawn, because as much as he's telling how much he cares about this kid, he just canceled a bunch of cancer research for fucking kids. This is the same guy who had a nephew that had a son, a small child that had cancer. And he went to Donald Trump for some help, some advice, some money, whatever he went to him for. And Donald Trump said, well, he's not going to have a good life anyway, but you should just let him die. This is the kind of fucking piece of shit we're dealing with. He has no empathy, and that's part and parcel to being a narcissist. No empathy. He's a sociopathic, narcissistic, pathological liar. And why anybody listens to anything he says just amazes me.
I just can't understand how like inhumane all of this is. I mean, how could you, how could you even? We're a country that has a lot. We have more money than any country in the world, and to fathom the idea that you take NIH money and cancel cancer research for children is the most abhorrent thing I could even fathom.
Yeah.
Children suffer and die, and you have no fucking compassion for those children. That's fucking sick. And it proves everything that we've said, that Donald Trump doesn't fuck about anybody but himself and his rich buddy billionaires like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all the other motherfuckers out there. He only cares about enriching themselves, because
Well, and
that whole cut from child cancer research is part of the tax break for the billionaires, and we all fucking know it.
absolutely. Well, and the thing about it is Donald Trump doesn't even really care about these billionaires. He only cares about them and caters to them up until the time he gets everything he wants from him. That's the thing with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is using Donald Trump. Donald Trump is using Elon Musk. When Elon Musk is no longer valuable, he'll be kicked to the curb like everybody that ever worked for Donald Trump. Um, what's the most disappointing thing? Not disappointing, angering thing about this? Donald Trump is a fuckhead. He is stupid. He's inarticulate. He is a sociopath, a narcissist, and a pathological liar. What he's doing is what you'd expect from a piece of shit like him. What's really disconcerting is you have Republicans around him who presumably are smarter, know better, understand what the fuck is going on, and they just bow and scrape to this guy for their own benefit. They don't care how bad it is or how bad he's getting. They just continue to do it. And there's a lot of Republicans out there that are going to pay a heavy price when this is all said and done, because they're going to be asked the question, you did this to kids, you did this to our allies, you did this to whatever, and you supported Donald Trump. What's your fucking answer? I think there's going to be a lot of politicians' careers ended, Republicans particularly.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, Mike. How do you feel? And I feel a way about this. How do you feel in the current state of where we're at today with Donald Trump and all the things that he's done? All of our allies throughout the world, allies that we've had for 80 years or more, right?
Hmm.
They're all turning their backs on us now. The European countries are saying, you know what, we can't trust the United States anymore. We can't trust the United States for intelligence information anymore, because we don't know if that information is fed through Russia. We don't know that. So they can.
Right.
How do you feel about, like, I'm sick. I'm sick feeling about that. That the allies that we've had 8 years are now turning their back.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it is pretty devastating. One of the greatest strengths this country has was our network of allies and NATO and all of that. And Donald Trump is doing whatever he can to ruin that. Funny, I talked to my wife, and she always has the same question, especially when we're talking about Canada, our closest trading partner, our closest friends, our closest in proximity. And every time she sees Donald Trump do something, she feels terrible, and she says, "Do the people of Canada know it's not us? We like Canada. It's this dumbass Donald Trump." And every Canadian I've talked to said, "Yeah, we know. We love you guys too. And we know it's Donald Trump." But that doesn't stop them from having to do what they're doing. Donald Trump puts on the tariffs, takes off the tariffs, puts on the tariffs. And Canada finally said, until this isn't a risk anymore, we're going to put on these tariffs. They're putting on a 25% tariff on electricity. That comes to New York, that comes to Michigan, and comes to my state of Minnesota. Now, I don't use a lot of electricity and I can afford the 25%, I'm not going to like it. But there are a lot of people that are going to be put in bad situations for bills they can't afford already. And this is what Donald Trump is doing. If he just said, okay, we're not doing tariffs anymore, Canada, if they felt comfortable, they would pull back on all of this stuff. But he doesn't care. He's insisting that we suffer. And it's just a matter of when the people have suffered enough and they push back. And they're starting to now. But not enough. Not enough yet.
Well, what? going to happen with our relationship with Europe because
Yeah,
Macron, I give Macron a lot of, and he embarrassed Donald Trump because he called him out on bullshit, and Donald Trump
yeah,
pissed off about that. And
yeah,
you know, France, Germany, Spain, all these countries they're rallying together and saying, "Fuck this shit with Ukraine. We're not fucking around. We'll fund them. We'll give them the weapons that they need." So
yeah.
Trump looks like an idiot, you know,
Yeah, he does.
because he's a Russian asset. He's a Russian asset, and he kowtows to Vladimir Putin, and that's what that's what he is. He owes them. He owes Putin, and these Trumple fucks can't get it, man. They can't get it. Like the facts are obvious that with the Mueller report, Paul Manafort got indicted and convicted for being a foreign national without reporting it to the federal government. He was working with Russian um, people or agents, and he didn't report it to the federal government. So he got convicted and went to jail. And then he was Donald Trump's campaign manager.
Yeah, absolutely.
I,
Donald Trump loves to talk about the Mueller report and how he was exonerated. He wasn't exonerated at all.
no,
In
he
fact,
was
there are 10 occasions of obstruction of justice that Donald Trump committed. And they said, well, why didn't they put him in jail? Because he was a sitting president, and that dumb memo in the FBI that says you can't indict a sitting president. But that's what Donald Trump does. Something will happen, and he'll tell you the opposite will happen. And normal people, reasonably minded people, won't believe it. But there is a faction of dumb fucks, maybe as many as 49% in this country, that believe the bullshit. And that's troubling that he just has to talk loud and long and continually, and some people will just believe it. Believe a guy who we know who's been verified as a pathological liar. That's just stupid. In terms of him being a Russian asset, everything he's said, everything he's done since being president and even before have validated that. It's not even up for debate. Is he a Russian asset? Well, he's siding with Russia over our ally, Ukraine. That's enough to tell you he's a fucking Russian asset.
right, absolutely. And it's sickening because, like, how can people forget history? Like, I, I just
They do, though.
I just don't understand that. It, you know, if you look at the world from even like just let's go back to 1980 to today, right? The
Yeah,
Soviet Union, the Soviets and the Cold War, they were our enemy, right?
right.
And then George Bush said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall." And we annihilated the Iron Curtain and we unified Europe, right?
Yeah,
And still, Russia, the Soviet Union collapsed. Russia was still our adversary from that time till now, right? And so,
right.
and even Europe agrees. Europe agrees that Russia is an adversarial country. And so, if Russia's mad about the expansion, fuck Russia. Who
Yeah.
gives a fuck what Vladimir Putin says? If NATO expands, it's none of his fucking business. And that's too fucking bad if you Trumple fucks are mad about that. And I don't know why you are, right? So NATO expands eastward and Russia doesn't like it. That's tough shit. It's none of their business. And
I'm not worried about. Everybody's worried about Donald Trump pulling out of NATO, pulling America out of NATO, and that has to be done by Congress. So he can't officially take us out of NATO. What I'm really concerned about is those countries kicking us out of NATO. They have good reason to consider that. I mean, we're like a wolf in the hen house.
well, I'm like a deer in the headlights on that one because you're right. Like I don't know what to even say about that. Because that's that's absolutely something, and I hope that it doesn't. I hope that dipshit Diaper Dawn is not fucking stupid enough to do that or try to push for that for Congress.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's a scary situation leaving NATO.
Yeah. One of the things that Donald Trump is doing, he always complained about China and how dangerous China is. And MK says, I'm sorry, but China has not had a war in many years, and their innovations are amazing. We need friends. Donald Trump is single handedly profiting the Chinese because all these people that count on us for products or services or whatever are being courted by China. And what are their odds? What are their options? There are no options. And the thing is, in every country, whether you're in Russia or America or China, they're always telling you the other guys are horrible, are bad. So what we know about these countries is been skewed by probably lies and propaganda. Like Russia, for example. Russia is very much like America. Russian people are decent people. It's
Yep,
the leader that's fucked. It's
right.
like America. American people are good people, but the leader is fucked. It's like Israel. Israel is a bunch of good people, but the leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, is fucked. This
Yep,
is the problem. We can't continue putting these people in position because it's jeopardizing our countries, the security, and the very people that live in it.
right. Yeah, I don't know what to even think anymore. I mean, we're spiraling down a well that I don't know that we can get back out of. I mean, it's so bad. The economy, the economy is on its way to collapse. I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna hit, like people say, a recession. And I don't know how to tell people to brace. Like all I can tell everyone is, right now, save as much money as you can because we're going to be in a bad situation in probably 12 months or less.
Let me ask you this, though. With as bad as it's going and as quickly as it's happening, um, the only way out of this, apparently, is people pushing back. And we're seeing that start to happen with the town hall meetings. Back there, I read it, I heard about a story where this Republican was so upset with the town hall meetings that he put it out there and says, we're going to have a pro Trump meeting. We only want pro Trumpers to come to this meeting. So he goes to the meeting and they all get drowned out by the negative people out there, the people that hate Donald Trump. They can't even beg for fucking crowds to come because the other people come and shout them down. They want to tell us it's Democrats starting shit. It's not. I mean, if you're a Republican and you lost your farm that's been in your family for generations and
Sure.
you're pissed, that's not a Democratic interloper. That's a Republican that's pissed that you stole his shit.
Well, you know what though? Let's talk about that a little bit because there's a lot of there's a lot of talk, and the things I've been reading too is that economic collapse is part of the plan, and putting the
You think so?
yeah, putting the small farmers out of business so that the corporate farmers can buy them is part of the plan for Donald Trump to
Yeah,
enrich
maybe you're right.
enrich the billionaires. Like
Yeah,
they don't want little farmers anymore. They want them corporately owned so they can control the prices and control everything. So when they jack the prices up, it there's no one to compete with them.
true.
And I'm honestly at this point, I believe that's a reality. They want that to happen. And the farming market is not the only one that is involved in it. So I'm really upset. Like I hope that's not true, but every indication that I'm seeing is that it is true. Because why else would they, you know, collapse the farming market with USAID? I mean, I'm just
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is where I have the trouble is when people say, "Oh, it's a strategy to do this or a strategy to do that." I think I think that could be. But what's been proven to us over and over again is this motherfucker's just stupid. And he refuses to say he's wrong. I mean, he's been made to back off the tariffs a couple of times, because somebody got to him and said, Donnie, it's fucked up. So he is concerned about his image, as he always is. I think he's just dumb and refuses to admit he's wrong when he's wrong because he's always wrong. And the cowards, the Republicans around him, can't even straighten him out. I mean, we go back to Nixon and Watergate. The Republicans went into his office and said, "You fucked up big. We're going to impeach you. Get the fuck out." And he did. And that's what needs to happen here. The Republic, if we're going to get this fixed and take him out of this situation, the Republicans are going to have to do it. As much as you want the Democrats to do it, you voted to give them the majority in the House and the Senate, so it's got to be the Republicans. How far does it have to go for the Republicans to say, I can't let him destroy the country anymore. We've got to do something, regardless of if we're scared of him or not.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not going to totally agree with you on this. And the
That's
reason
fine.
I want to agree with you is because the difference between Nixon and Trump is money. So all these people, Trump, White House, and his advisor, well, his cabinet doesn't count because there's a bunch of people that are billionaires in his cabinet. Donald Trump does not listen to fucking anyone who's not a billionaire, right? So
Yeah.
all these motherfuckers are going to tell him shit. And like his advisors in the White House who know policy and know and understand the implications of the actions that are taken are going to tell Donald Trump, don't do this because it's going to be a fuck up and it's going to be bad. And then the billionaires are going to tell him, yeah, do this, cut all this shit, do, whatever evil ass shit they're going to do, right? Do this. And Donald Trump's going to listen to Jeff Bezos or whoever else, Elon Musk. He's not going to listen to his political advisors over billionaires.
No.
The billionaires are going to win in this fucking scenario. They're getting everything they ever wanted right now. That's what they're getting.
Well, that
They're getting union busting. AFGE just got busted out of TSA. They're getting everything they ever wanted. Right now, the billionaires are getting it.
well, and I think that was kind of my point. Donald Trump is an idiot, but by way of being a narcissist, a malignant narcissist, he's easily manipulated. I know that by experience. All you have to do is pat him on the head, pat him on the butt, and say, "You are a fucking genius. Just do this, and everybody will love you." So, what's going on, you're absolutely right, isn't a Donald Trump strategy or plan. It's the billionaires around him that know how to manipulate him and try to get him to do these things. Problem is he doesn't always listen and he doesn't always follow the rules. So these billionaires are probably getting their dick stepped on too because Donald Trump will fuck that up. I mean, that's the point. Donald Trump, no matter what Donald Trump does, he will fuck up. And if anybody wants to argue with me about it, give me one thing he's done since he's entered the political scene where he's actually had success. There isn't one time.
Yeah. Well, and you're right about that. But the most alarming thing is that people people don't realize how much Russian influence has gone on behind the scenes with Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, no question.
And like his whole career has been propped up by Russians. And that whole Mueller report proved, and even though, you bring that out into the public and all these people got indicted for, like, Paul Manafort, we talked about that earlier. He got convicted for, being a foreign asset to Russia. That
Right.
Donald Trump pardoned him.
Yeah.
Pardoned him. I mean,
Roger Stone, he pardoned him.
that's crazy because Paul Manafort was a key person in the whole fucking scheme, and the Trump fucks will never get it.
Well, and like what I was talking about with the billionaires around him, how he's just easily manipulated. Um, Donald Trump is, of course, being people want to say he's a Russian asset, and I guess that's technically true, but he's more a useful idiot for Vladimir Putin as much as he is for the billionaires around him. He's just being pulled every possible way. People are telling him, "You do this, I'll like you, I'll be your best friend, or you'll be very popular because of this." Vladimir Putin has been doing this to Donald Trump for the since the 80s. And the thing about it is, Donald Trump has gotten to the point they're so arrogant, they're not even trying to hide it.
No,
Donald Trump is doing clearly things that a Russian asset would do, and he doesn't fucking care. And the worst part of it is, we've got Republicans in Congress, in the House, in the Senate, apparently don't care either.
yeah, that's alarming. It's
It
really
is.
and what do we do? Like, what do we do to combat that? I mean, we have people that in Congress that are calling some things out, but they're not doing as much as they should be doing, and they should be highlighting those agreed things, and they're not doing it.
But if we had somebody from the outside the country, doing what Donald Trump is doing now, there'd be a fucking war.
Right?
We'd be boots on the ground, missiles through the sky. There would be a war. So now we have somebody from the inside, and we are supposed to be protected by the Constitution of domestic and foreign terrorists. We literally have a terrorist in the White House, terrorist in Congress, and if they were coming from the outside, there would be a war.
Right?
Is that what it's going to take from the inside? Literal violence, literally a war? I'm almost wondering if that's not the case.
I don't disagree with you, and I don't have a good answer for that. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's anything. How far is it going to go? How many people have to be? How many people's lives destroyed? How many government services have to be canceled before people revolt? That's the question, right? Is it going to take cutting Medicaid? Is it going to take cutting Social Security to get people on the streets uh, in Washington D.C. to fucking make a change?
It, I would never have thought that to be the case. I thought they would cave and go against Donald Trump before now, but I have to wonder. CP 1445 says, "How do we stop him? I think it's time for a revolution, but we need our military to back us, Americans." Two questions there. I agree. We need a revolution. What that revolution looks like, I don't know, but it's got to be substantial and powerful, whether it's on the streets or whatever has to be done. We are in the middle of a revolution right now. The other question is, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this and suggest that the military will stand up for the Constitution and will stand up for America if pushed that far. Now, I would hope that'd be true. I would hope that would be the case, but I don't know for sure. Everything I've ever thought that made logic and was common sense that I thought would happen hasn't happened. So I don't know that I can count on logic and common sense at this point.
No, you can't. And I I just don't know. There is no more logic and common sense. I mean, we've tried to explain this stuff to all the Trump we tried to, but it just doesn't exist anymore.
No.
And I'm saddened to say that the complicity of the Republican Party in Congress is fucking sickening. Like, they know what is happening. They know what Donald Trump is doing is wrong. They know what Elon Musk is doing is illegal. And they do fucking nothing about it. Nothing.
Yeah, and they're afraid of some incompetent, impotent piece of shit. I don't know what the fear comes from, but they definitely have fear. Um, and I'll say this too about, people say, well, the American military stand up for us in the Constitution. They could, they should, hopefully they would. But if that happens, we're in the middle of a legitimate full on coup.
Well, I can tell
It's,
you what
it's,
I can tell
it's for the better, but it is a coup.
well, Mike, I can tell you what the fear is. The fear is that the amount of money that Elon Musk has, not only does he have his money, which is $400 billion, but
Yeah.
he has the other billionaires in his back pocket, Jeff Bezos, all the other motherfuckers. So they can spend endless money to primary any Republican that goes against their agenda. And that matters.
Well,
That
well,
matters.
that's yeah, but that's true if things go as they've gone. What I'm seeing when I'm talking about a revolution in this country, this has to be a swift and hard takedown of the Republican Party, of Donald Trump, and anybody that supports him. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's legal, if it's military, or what. But we can't continue on going to the midterms and then the 2028 uh, political or presidential election. We can't just do that as normal. I think I saw somebody at the State of the Union. She had her sign taken away from her, and she was holding it up and says, "This is not normal." And she's absolutely right. This is not normal. These are desperate times. They call for desperate measures. And my question is, what are those desperate measures? They need to be swift and they need to be strong. I don't know what that is. I mean, when I say that, it sounds like I'm talking about a military coup and going in and fighting. I hope that's not the case, but you almost have to wonder, is that the case?
Well, that's interesting because why would that sign be taken away from her? I mean,
Good question.
that's a First Amendment protected activity. To redress your government is the ultimate part of why the framers created the First Amendment because they wanted to have, the ability to redress grievances against your government. So for someone to take that sign away from her is it or him or her is a violation of that person's rights. They should be able to carry that sign in the Capitol or anywhere they want to carry that sign, and that can't be, you know, censored or
But
from them. That
But that's happening all over. I mean, we've got a guy who puts on a protest and they deport him even though he didn't do anything illegal. They're threatening to attack media people if they say something they don't like. They want to do an investigation into Joe Biden, whether or not he was cognizant in office, and then did he hand over power? This is what they said. This is the funniest fucking thing. They want to investigate Joe Biden, who's no longer president. He's a private citizen. He's not a factor anymore. They want to investigate whether or not he was uh, cognizantly viable. And if he wasn't, did he give away power to unelected bureaucrats? You mean like Donald Trump is doing right now with Elon Musk? It's just, you know, it's fucking ridiculous.
that is ridiculous, and that clearly didn't happen. I mean, come on now. That's
No.
and like, can you? It just I don't understand how we had normalcy with Joe Biden as president. We had
Yeah.
we had economic growth. We had legislation that helped working people. The PACT Act for veterans had Chips and Science Act, which put thousands of my people to work. We had the American Rescue Plan. We had the infrastructure bill, which also put thousands of my people to work. And now we have fucking chaos.
Right.
Oh, we
Well,
have
what you bring up is interesting. I don't know if people know you've been on the show a number of times, and most people know, but here on Substack they may not know. You are a union leader in Pennsylvania, and you work with a lot of politicians. You work with a lot of unions. Let me ask you this: you're a plumber by trade, and involved in a lot of unions. To this point, right now, how has when you say your people, how have they been affected at this point?
I think some of them are holding the line with Donald Trump,
Wow.
but there's some of them are realizing that maybe they were wrong.
Maybe. Wow.
So I think we got to wait a little longer to test that water because they're not. they're not realizing the full effect of what's about to happen, but I think it's coming. You know,
Are
because
they feeling any pinch right now, though? I mean, the people that you deal with in those unions, are they feeling any pinch yet, or is it still to come?
it's still to come, Mike. Because, like for example, we talked about the other day about there was a $300 million project, construction project in my area, in my city, that was amazing. It was an amazing project. It was a recycling project, um, to build a recycling plant, and it was a $300 million project. And the company, the private company that was aspiring to build this plant on a site that is a brown site, and I don't, if people don't know what a brown site is, it's a polluted manufacturing site that cannot be repurposed for anything. So these people they bought this brown site to repurpose it for recycling, and they got last year Joe Biden Department of Energy gave this company a $182 million loan to construct this recycling plant, which would, by the way, be the biggest recycling plant in North America. Plastic plastics recycling plant in North America. So now I met with the CEO a couple days ago, and he said, "I'm not sure what's going to happen. We were promised this money, but we're not getting any response from the federal government about if we're getting this money or not." Now, granted, you have to remember this money was spent by the last Congress. And if Donald Trump takes this away from my fucking city, that's a fucking travesty, because the construction of this project would create 300 permanent jobs for the employees in this facility. Not to mention the probably 1,000 construction jobs it would take to construct it. That is a travesty. It's fucking fucked up. It's sad. It's evil. It's evil. Like this is something that's good for everyone. It's good for energy. It's good for uh, the environment. This is something that we want to have, and our city is really depressed. It's really not doing well because we don't have very good manufacturing. This was a manufacturing city, and when everything got taken away and shipped over to Mexico and shipped over to China, we lost a lot of jobs. And this is something that's going to revitalize our city. And for Donald Trump to fucking take that away from us makes me fucking sick.
Well, and what he's talking about doing there is pretty much what's happening to the farmers. You
Yeah,
know, he's taking away opportunities and monies and causing people to go into debt and then canceling the reimbursements, and then they're fucked. MK is asking this question. We get this question a lot, and I know you'll have an answer for it. I do. MK says, "Where's our previous leaders? Obama, Clinton, Bush, Harris. I just can't wrap my head around this silence. What do you expect them to do? They're private citizens. Yes, they were presidents and vice presidents before, but you voted for this fucker. Even if you didn't vote for him or didn't vote at all, he is the president. What's Obama supposed to do? Yell and scream? I think the people of this country need to be talking louder. The current politicians need to be talking louder. But you can't expect former presidents to do much. They don't have any power."
right. No, I agree with that. There's, I mean, what does anyone expect them to do? I mean, they're not. They have no position of power anymore. You know,
Right.
we have to focus on pressuring our leaders right now, our congressmen, and that's the thing. Like, things are so messed up. All I can say is that people, if you don't know who your congressman is, you need to
Yeah.
Google it, find out who your congressman is, and call them, call their office, and say, "Hey, I'm not happy with what's going on here. I want action. I want this changed. I want Donald Trump stopped." And call them. congressmen, call your senators, call your governor's office, tell your elected officials that you are not happy with this current situation because this is a dire situation. We're on the verge of economic collapse. People don't understand that. Donald Trump's policies with Canada, Mexico, and China are going to destroy our economy. They're
Yeah.
going to destroy our economy. Look, and anyone that doesn't believe me, look at the Dow Jones in the past 5 days.
Yeah, absolutely. 2,000 points since Donald Trump took office. And that hasn't happened in a long while, at least since Donald Trump was last in office and we had to deal with COVID. MK says something that's interesting, and I think it's good. He's saying that Bernie Sanders has held major town halls recently, and he has. He's gone into Republican strongholds and held town halls. Now, I like Bernie. Bernie is proactive. He's an activist of sorts, and he's doing a good job. But my question is this: why does it have to be an 85-year-old senator? We have a lot of young senators and a lot of young representatives in the Democratic Party. They all should be doing this because those people in those red states, they aren't hearing from their people because they're terrified of going and getting hammered, but they still want to talk about it. As Democrats going into these red state areas and say, let's not even talk about Democrat and Republican. Let's talk about your problems and how we can get it fixed. That
Well,
would be probably the most effective thing Democrats could do right now. And we've got one 85-year-old senator doing it. That's bullshit.
Mike, I want to correct you a little bit.
You keep correcting me. God damn it. This is my show. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I've been married 42 years. I get corrected every fucking day. So go ahead.
Oh, I agree with you on the fact that Bernie Sanders is 85 years old and he's out there doing that, and I love that he's doing that. However,
Hmm.
however, there are people in Congress that have offered to do the same thing. Eric Swalwell did, and AOC offered. They said if your congressman doesn't want to come to your district and have a town hall meeting, I will come. Both of them said this. I will come and I will do the town hall meeting with you and we'll talk about the facts. Which I like that. That's great. Like
I
AOC.
like I like that, but I don't think Bernie's doing that. He's just fucking showing up and putting up a sign and say, "Come on, let's talk." It's one thing to say, "If you really want me to come, I'll come." Fuck that. Just show up. Just do it. Be proactive in this bitch.
Well, I, I didn't know that was the case, but like, yeah, I like that too. But I also like the fact that those Congress people are willing to do that. Like,
Absolutely.
us to come, we'll come, even if your congressperson won't come, and we'll talk to you about it. Which I think that's a great idea because they might get a perspective in a red district that they never got before.
Absolutely. We should take advantage of that. And it may force out of embarrassment or shame for these Republicans to show up. And it's not going well for them. They shouldn't be doing well because they've been doing a disservice to their people while trying to own the libtards. They may or may not become may or may not be effective in owning the libtards, but they're sure fucking over their own people. Um,
I
somebody mentions here we had Donald Trump trying to deport that Palestinian protester, and Donald Trump doesn't like it, so he tried to deport him. A judge overturned the Palestinian protester who was being deported, and that's good to see. But my question is, my concern is does Donald Trump respect judicial decisions? Does he still put him on a plane and send him the fuck out? If he does, who's going to stop him?
Right, exactly. No one's going to stop it. I mean, I don't know who would. He has complete control of the immigration system, so I don't know who would stop that.
Yeah, now, Bikey NP says, yes, we need more Bernie and fewer Amy Barris, who voted to censure Representative Green. I think a lot of those Democrats, those 10 Democrats that voted to censure Al Green, are now finally finding out how horrible of a mistake it was. I don't know what they were trying to pull. But at this point, for them, Democrats to vote to censor him was absolutely ridiculous. I think each and every one of them, regardless who they are, whether it's Jared Moskowitz or Tom Suozzi or anybody of note, they should all be primaried because they aren't really helping this country. They're hurting this country. The
Right.
people that bend to Donald Trump. Jared Moskowitz is probably one of the most disappointing ones. He was very vocal. He would turn on the Republicans. He would call them out, but then he votes against TikTok and invests in Meta. He does what he does with Al Green and votes to have him censured. I don't feel like I can trust that motherfucker or any of these guys that do that.
Well, what do you suppose his change of heart was?
Um, I, well, what they will say is this: they say, well, we have to have a certain amount of decorum in this House of Representatives. And there was once a time when that was a legitimate answer, okay? But when the year before Marjorie Taylor Greene behaves even worse than Al Green did,
Lauren
and
Bro-
nobody, or Lauren Boebert too, and nobody in the Democratic Party even thought to censuring those two. Where were you when that was going on? That was about decorum, and you didn't seem to care then. I mean, even if you couldn't win, Jared Moskowitz could have asked for a bill to censure Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, but he didn't. The problem is we've got Democrats in office who only care about their own position, their own power, their own money, and they're fucking weak as hell.
yeah, I don't understand that. And I'd like to point out too that my congressman here is absolutely refusing to have a town hall meeting. And as
Really.
a matter of fact, downtown this Saturday that we just had, they had a protest asking our congressman why he's not having a town hall meeting. And he had zero response. And I have a feeling I know why. Because
Why?
this town hall meeting is going to be the same shit show that the rest of these fucking idiot Republican legislators have had over the course of the last 2 weeks. They got fucking taken to task by their constituents. And Mike Johnson can lie and say it's a bunch of Republican plants. That's fucking bullshit.
Democrat.
That's fucking bullshit. That's a lie. His own constituents, people admitting to being Republicans, are going and taking them to task about the bullshit that's going on with Elon Musk and Doge and Donald Trump and all the fucking bullshit corruption that's going on right now in our current administration. The Republicans are taking them to task, and the GOP is fucking worried. They're worried. They're losing like their polling is shit. Their internal polling is shit, and they're going to get annihilated in the midterms if things keep going on the projection that they're going on.
Absolutely. Well, in your state, you not only have problems with the Republicans, you have problems with the Democrat. You've got your U.S. Senator Fetterman, who has been an absolute disappointment. He's a weirdo, goofy motherfucker. You know, he went through the whole point where he is depressed and stuff. You know what, Fetterman? You fucking depress me
Yeah,
just by your behavior and your traitorous behavior with the Democratic Party. I don't know what his fucking deal is, whether he's compromised because he's got something the Republicans have him on or whatever, but he's been like Jared Moskowitz, an absolute fucking disappointment. He's a joke.
I can't understand like John. I, John's he was always a really good down to earth guy. Like I've always had a good relationship with him, and I don't understand what happened. Like I just we talked. I talked to him. Like I just don't know what the deal is. Like my mind, like my heart is broken actually, that he
Yeah,
would take this route to saddle up with the Trumplefucks and Donald Trump. Like why is he doing this? And I honestly like his chief of staff. I keep wanting to call her. Like I bring it up on my phone and I'm like, I need to call her and ask her what the fuck. But like I keep stopping and not doing it. Like I need to wait and see what happens. Like, is this some kind of like, ploy or whatever? Like, I, honestly, I don't think she'll give me a good answer. Like,
No, she won't. She won't. She'll give you some bullshit answer. And I tell you what, if you talk to Fetterman ever, and you feel afraid to confront him as strongly as you would want to because you have a relationship with him, you can tell him from me. You can give him my phone number if you want. Tell him for me that I think he's a pussy ass bitch and I think he's a fuck up and I can't wait till he's out of office because he should be primaried ASAP.
I don't have any problem with confronting anyone, but
No,
I
I know that.
knowing the guy, like, I just don't understand how he did that. Like, how he went from being an advocate for working people to being on the side of the Trumple fucks. Like, what the fuck is going on? And I should read just a little better because maybe somebody knows something that I don't know, or I got people that are more connected in that area than I am, and I'd like to know. And like, I might have to dig into this a little deeper and see what the fuck's going on. Maybe somebody can give me an answer.
Yeah, we had Joe Manchin. He's gone now. Now we got Fetterman. Why can't we get all Democrats to be unified and do what we're supposed to do to try to pull this country out of this bullshit? But he
It's
seems to be not helping at all.
no, it's extremely disappointing to say the least. I had high hopes for him, and he really let me down. And I don't think I can forgive it. To be honest.
That's the thing. When I've had people come to me and say, "Well, you got to come together with Republicans," or in the case of this Democrat Fetterman, um, but, once they finally realize that they're wrong, we've got to welcome them in and work with them. And I disagree. If it's one thing, it's one thing if they make a poor political move and it's something I don't agree with. It's about politics. But what these people are doing is trying to destroy this country, and in the process, destroying the future, which means my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids, and that is unforgivable ever. I don't care if they get on their knees and say I was wrong. Please, please accept our apologies. Never will happen. It will never fucking happen with me. They went too far and they smirked all the time they were doing it, and those fuckers, I hope they get destroyed. I hope they get their teeth kicked in by whatever economic or electoral situation that comes up. I only wish the worst for them.
Yeah, and what's sad about the whole thing? That the Republican senator that beat Bob Casey in the election, he's actually making more inroads with people than John Fetterman is right now.
Yeah,
That's true. He's making more inroads with labor, with um, you know, other community groups and stuff like that. He's doing more than Fetterman. That's disturbing because he's not a good person. He's a hedge fund millionaire, and that, that's not going to be a good fucking roadmap for the midterm elections. Or when the elections come up for Senate in what 4 years.
yeah. CP1445 says we also need to reach to some target military personnel for discussions. I mean, Trump can't do anything and he'll be weak when he doesn't have the military behind him. I agree. It would be nice if we got the military to stand by the Constitution and do what they're supposed to do in a situation like this, even though we've never seen that. Uh, but it depends on how much control Donald Trump wields and how much he can influence those people that would control those military folks. I just don't know. I mean, I haven't been impressed with the way the strength of Congress, the strength of the DOJ, the strength of the Supreme Court. They've all been disappointing. MK says, I feel like our previous leaders are punishing us for Trump's presidency, and I'm hoping after a little more hurt, maybe they get his base in their side and will fight. again, I don't know what the former leaders can do. Are they punishing us? I mean, some of us had that attitude after the election. Well, bitches, if that's what you want, let the fucker burn. We'll wait and pick up the pieces later. And maybe some of them are feeling that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're at, isn't it? I mean, we're stuck.
Yeah,
We're that's where we're stuck at. Let's be real. I mean, we don't control the House, we don't control the Senate, we don't control the executive branch, and Donald Trump is hell bent on burning it all to the ground. So what can we do? I mean, let him burn it down. That's our only choice because in reality, let the Republicans cut Medicare. Let the Republicans cut Medicaid. Let the Republicans cut Social Security. Let the Republicans cut SNAP benefits. Let them do all those things. And the reason why I say let them do it is because if they do all those things, that's the death of all of them.
yeah, absolutely.
And they can go ahead and do it. They can cut all that and they can get hung in the square, in Washington, D.C., and then we'll just fix it later. You know, we can they can damage all this stuff. They can close USAID, but when the next administration goes around, I mean it's an agency that was created by Congress. Donald Trump can't get rid of it, even though he shut it down. Doesn't mean it's gone. And it's the same for everything else. Like he can do all these things and close off Snap, but we can fix all these things. So let him do it. Let him fucking cut his own throat. Let him cut Republicans. That's fine.
Uh,
I'm okay with that. We have,
yeah, it's unfortunate. You almost have to end in a disaster for this to get fixed. CP1445 says, I've been calling Kevin Mullen, who's a rep from California, uh, and asking for a town hall. And finally, he is having one. I pulled up his website. He's got one coming up March 20th. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I give him credit for having courage. The rest of the Republicans in the House don't have the courage to do this bullshit.
no courage.
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. I tell you what, TJ, I'm going to wrap things up. We've gone about an hour and a half. I appreciate all the folks that have been listening. Thank you, TJ, for coming in on short notice and having this conversation. It's important we all have conversations constantly. It seems redundant sometimes, it seems tiring, but we're in the middle of a war. We're in the middle of a fight, and we better ready to as the Canadians would do, drop the gloves and be ready to fucking go because we really need to do this. That's what we've come to. It's not about elections anymore. It's about fighting, and we've got to do that in any way we can.
Absolutely. And hey, this Substack thing is kind of new, but it's kind of cool. Just
I
say
love Substack.
all the users out there, maybe follow Mike on Substack because that might be the thing of the future. We don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. It's still in the air. So
We don't, and I'm also on YouTube and Blue Sky. And for those folks that are new, this recording, this whole live, this hour and a half, will also be the Rational Boomer podcast for tomorrow. I encourage you to listen to the podcast. We do TikTok lives, we do YouTube lives, we now do Substack lives. We have guests on, brilliant guests that come on all the time. Sometimes I do the show myself and we do emails, but there's a show every night. And if you want to catch up with what's going on, by all means, check it out. You can get the podcast every night right after midnight on YouTube, the video version of it. This will be there tomorrow. And for just the audio version, you can get it on Spotify. Just go there, ask for Rational Boomer Podcast, and you'll find it. And I hope you'll join us when we do that. So thank you, TJ.
welcome.
Thank Rebecca for allowing you to do this. I appreciate that. She's another moderator I have on TikTok and happens to be TJ's wife. And without question, I mean, I don't even think it's up for debate, the better half, the better three-fourths, probably.
I agree.
And, and those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.